Hey ReadyUpLive! In my Halo 5 gameplay video titled 16 More Minutes of Halo 5 Guardians Beta Gameplay, I discussed how difficult it is to port a video game. I didn't go into detail, but clearly I had to. On the video, I received a laughable comment. Yes, I'm calling you out because if you put yourself out there on the internet with a comment like this, I don't even feel slightly bad with tearing you to shreds. Hunter Baker said, "I think the fact that they had to use many different forms of code is bullshit. All you have to do is literally just make ports of each game. And whenever that game is selected in matchmaking, it obviously will use the engine of that game. For example, everyone picks a Halo 2 game in a lobby, so it will run the Halo 2 engine. It's not like the Halo 2 engine is running while the Halo 3 engine is too, and they had to make both of them work together simultaneously. Whoever was in charge in the matchmaking system clearly didn't overlook it, and it was a matter of connectivity and netcode. This guy talks out of his ass way too often, has no idea what he is talking about half the time. Glad I'm not subbed. LOL. LOL! I forwarded this message onto my buddy Joe, a game dev, and his reply was, "This hurts me so much." Me too, Joe. Before I start this rant, if you're going to call me a sycophant, ponyboy, sellout, or anything along those lines, take a breath, step away from the keyboard, and find meaning to your life. Halo, the Master Chief Collection, genuinely was one hell of an undertaking to port, and is still causing problems. As we all know, the Master Chief Collection was one of the worst game launch blunders in recent history. This holy grail of a franchise compilation all in one neat package? Sign me up. But alas, the game, at least the multiplayer part of it, is not perfect to say the least. Okay, it's a fucking disaster. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, the Master Chief Collection should not have been released until it was ready. It was forced out. We don't know the whole truth, but we can assume that higher-ups wanted the collection out before Christmas to sell consoles. It needed another year before it was ready. Even the early build I was playing was worrying. I kept thinking, that launch day update better do a lot. But why is porting so hard? I thought it was easy to port a video game to a new console. You just press File, Port to Xbox One. Simple. It doesn't work like that. And because apparently I talk out my ass, I'm going to reference an article in Game Sutra about porting the game Fez to PSN. Fez. This isn't 5 different Halo engines. Fez. The cute little pixel art puzzle game. One of the big issues with Fez was that it was written in C#, a coding language that PlayStation didn't support. The company behind the port, Blitworks, had to decide between porting the whole mono runtime or converting the entire game to another coding language, C++. Oh, but converting must be easy. Just like converting Chinese to English, you just run it through Google Translate. This Chinese saying in English reads, "Teachers open the door, you enter by yourself." Or, "A master can only lead a person to the temple gate. The individual must practice himself to become a monk." Running this through Google Translate gives us master, comma, self-cultivation in the individual. Yeah. A game ported via Google Translate would be shit. So no, you can't just port a game. There isn't a magic port button. The first issue Blitworks ran into was shader and geometry problems. While Fez looks simple, it's actually made in a 3D environment. They had to rewrite code to optimize them for the console they were porting to. According to them, here are the steps to making a port work. The actual article goes into much more detail, but since I'm making this video to call out a guy who ends his ignorant statement with LOL, I'll keep it simple. Check the description if you want to read it yourself. Step 1. Make the game run. You'll likely find that a game with 0 errors before will now have a huge swath of them. Anyone who's coded before knows that when you fix one, you create so many more. Sometimes games are built with closed tools that other developers don't have access to. This can lead to a lot of problems. Not to mention coding in general. It's like trying to read someone's school notes. You have no idea how they organize them or where they're pointing to, and it's you gotta understand the person, really. Next up is adding proper graphics support. When a game is built with porting in mind, the graphics are separated onto their own layer. If not, they need to be extracted from the existing code and added to a new library. When graphics aren't working well, you start down the rabbit hole of graphical issues. You need a lot of knowledge of the underlying hardware and the hardware that the original software was built on. Lastly, bug crushing. As everyone who codes knows, a single missing symbol can break the entire game and take forever to find. Fixing bugs is the most time-consuming process of a port, and is the same stage that the Master Chief Collection is at right now. Whenever a bug is crushed, a new one arises. Now, all of this is for a single-player game. This isn't even getting started on the complications of netcode. If Halo the Master Chief Collection works like the orange box, where you start in a menu, pick your game, and you're stuck in that game, I have no doubt in my mind it would be much, much smoother. Those games run in their own environments. However, 343 went a little more next level and decided to make them all work in the same infrastructure. Whether this was the right call or not is up for debate. I'm all for it, as it's a really cool idea when it works. Jumping between games across over 10 years, I feel like goddamn Marty McFly. Unfortunately, the amount of bugs that presented themselves were, well, there was a lot. As a side note to all this, there are some other armchair experts who believe that 343 should stop working on other projects while attempting to fix MCC. That doesn't make a lick of sense. Say I have to make a large pizza, but I don't have any toppings on it. If I had a friend help me, the amount of time it would take would be cut in half. Let's make that 4 people. 2 to put on the toppings, 2 to pass the toppings. As we keep adding people, at some point it doesn't make much sense. The majority of the people in the room aren't even physically able to help. Not to mention the people whose job it is to run the company aren't making the pizzas. You think Joe in a suit and tie at head office is going to come down to the pizza shop and help the room full of people who are already too numerous? It would become a game of telephone. Game design works like this too. Why would you put the guys working on Halo 5 campaign design on MCC netcode bugs? It's an absurd idea. And no, they can't just not work. I know you're on the internet and you forget this, but these are real people with real lives, real families, and need to work to support that. Sorry, we can't have you coming into work today because we have to fix a game that has nothing to do with you. Now again, this is a very basic explanation of how porting works, but I hope I can help you all understand. Too long did not listen. Halo the Master Chief Collection should not have been released until it was ready. It was an absolute disgrace of a launch and a slap on the face to Halo fans because of that. It wasn't easy to port and bugs are still getting fixed. Don't make comments on the internet that you can't back up. Your hashtags aren't helping the problem get fixed. But Hunter Baker isn't even subscribed, so he'll never see this video. But maybe if you share it around, you can help him see it. Godspeed, everyone.